My family called me sad, and my girlfriend temporary. Now they want me to shoot their brand campaign. Hi, I'm Peter, 29, and up until 6 months ago, thought the worst betrayal I'd ever feel would come from an ex. Turns out, nothing cuts deeper than realizing your own family treats you like the side salad at a steakhouse, technically present, but absolutely no one came for it. The whole mess started with the chair. One chair, or more accurately, the lack of one. At my cousin Hannah's 25th birthday banquet, the kind of event that comes with name cards and tablecloths fancier than anyone at the table, I learned in real time just how invisible I was to the people I'd spent years swallowing my pride for. People I'd driven across the state to help move apartments, lent money to without ever mentioning it again, showed up for every graduation, christening, we're just having a few people over kind of thing, and still ended up seated near the fire extinguisher like an afterthought. It wasn't just the table. It was the tone, the smirk, the way Hannah greeted my girlfriend Eliza as the +1, like she was picking lint off her designer dress. It was the chicken. God, the chicken. Everyone else got some 3-course situation with starters and dessert and sauces I couldn't pronounce. We got grilled chicken with steamed broccoli and not even a slice of lemon. It was like ordering the prefix and getting the kids' menu. But the real moment, the exact second I felt something inside me shift, was when the check came. The waiter walked over to me, leather folder in hand, asked politely, "Who should I bring this to?" And from across the room, Hannah didn't even blink, didn't move, didn't flinch, just smiled for a photo, while Eliza, bless her soul, leaned forward with that calmly dangerous tone of hers and said, "Oh, we're not part of that group." That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, Eliza beside me, replaying every moment in excruciating detail. The laughter I wasn't invited into, the names on cards that weren't mine, the casual cruelty disguised as etiquette. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to keep the peace. I wanted to flip the whole damn table. After the banquet, I started seeing everything differently, like I'd been wearing smudged glasses for years and someone finally wiped the lenses clean. Eliza kept telling me how proud she was that I stayed calm, but I didn't feel proud. I felt stupid. Stupid for thinking I was part of a family that clearly had a VIP list, and I wasn't on it. Then came the second punch. A Facebook post from my aunt. A glowing album titled, "Our Shining Star Turns 25. There were 42 photos, group shots, toasts, even a boomerang of Hannah laughing mid-sip with the flute of something bubbly. You know what? There wasn't a single photo of me, except for one blurry background moment where I'm standing near the bar, barely in frame, like some guy who wandered in off the street. Eliza was tagged. Brandon was tagged. The bartender was tagged. Not me. I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. I just stared at it, feeling something in my chest solidify into a weight I couldn't ignore anymore. That was the beginning of the unraveling. I started noticing all the little things I used to brush off. Group chats where I was only added after plans were made. Cousin hangouts I heard about after they posted pictures. Throwback photos with me cropped out so cleanly had to be intentional. And every time I tried to bring it up, even gently, my mom would respond with some variation of the same line. "Peter, don't take it so personally. You know how they are." That phrase was a weapon wrapped in cotton. You know how they are. Translation: don't make a fuss. Be easy. Be quiet. Be forgettable. For years, I thought that made me mature. But really, it just made me complicit. Then came Sunday dinner. My mom called it small, just a few family members. So Eliza and I made a dessert, showed up early, tried to be thoughtful, and then they all arrived. Hannah, Riley, the aunts, the uncles, everyone who hadn't so much as texted me in weeks, suddenly waltzing through the door with wine bottles and loud stories like we were all one big, happy unit. Spoiler, we weren't. Dinner was polite in the way office emails are polite, barely. The trifle Eliza made stayed on the counter, untouched, while everyone fawned over a supermarket cake my aunt brought. Conversation floated past us. Riley talked about crypto. Hannah mused about maybe moving to New York. Brandon said facts a lot, then went back to scrolling. And then, I heard it. From the kitchen. Hannah's voice, light and mocking. "Peter always brings these serious girlfriends who think they're part of the family. Then they break up, and we never see them again. Laughter. Then Riley, he treats every girl like she's the one. It's kind of sad. I turned and saw Eliza frozen in the hallway, 2 mugs of tea in her hands. She'd heard every word, and I saw the look in her eyes, the same look I'd had the night of the banquet. We left, and I didn't say goodbye. That night in the car, Eliza didn't say much. She didn't need to. Her silence wasn't cold, it was loud, measured, like she was giving me space to feel the thing she already knew I was feeling. After a few minutes, she said, "I finally get it. Why you always tense up when the word family comes up." And just like that, I broke. Not in some dramatic, tearful collapse, but in the way a tired floorboard gives out under pressure. Quietly, completely. Because hearing her say it meant I wasn't imagining it. That all the tiny humiliations, all the dismissals, all the times I told myself, just suck it up, it's family, weren't in my head. She'd seen it too, felt it. The next day, I didn't text my mom, didn't check Facebook, didn't replay the evening in my mind for the 100th time. I sat on the edge of the bed with a mug of coffee gone cold and made a decision. I was done auditioning for a seat at their table. 2 days later, I got a group text from Aunt May. "Hey everyone. Reminder, Hannah's having a second, more intimate birthday dinner this Friday. Just close family. No plus ones this time. Hope you can make it." It was a message soaked in fake warmth and thinly veiled exclusion. A minute later, Eliza showed me her phone. A private message from Hannah. "Hey, nothing personal, just trying to keep this small. Hope you understand." She understood perfectly. So did I. They didn't want me there. Not really. But they expected me. They expected me to show up, to sit quietly alone like a loyal placeholder, to smile through the insult and thank them for the crumbs. But not this time. This time, I didn't respond. Not to Aunt May or to Hannah. Not even to my mom when she called 2 days later and left a voicemail asking why I had an ARVPED. I let the silence sit. Let it bloom. The night of the dinner, Eliza and I stayed in, ordered Thai, watched a dumb movie, and didn't talk about it, not directly. But every laugh, every shared look said the same thing. This wasn't about one dinner. This was about every moment. I'd convinced myself I didn't matter. Every time I swallowed my voice to keep peace, that only ever protected their comfort. The next morning, I checked Facebook out of habit. There they were. The photos, Hannah in a silk dress, my mom, my aunts, my uncles, Riley and his new girlfriend who, by the way, had a name card and a custom menu. She'd been dating him for 2 weeks. I was a ghost, and still, I didn't rage, didn't call anyone. I just powered off my phone and sat beside Eliza in the quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small, I felt done. The next morning, I got up early, not to make a statement, not to prove anything, just because I finally had the space to. I showered, shaved, and sat at the kitchen table with a pen and a scrap of paper. Wrote down 3 things. Fix the leaky tap, sign up for that photography class I bookmarked last year, call the gym. Small things. Manageable things. But they felt like bricks, solid, heavy mine. That week, I did all 3. The gym wasn't fancy, but it smelled like effort. I walked in half expecting to feel out of place. Instead, I met Marcus, the trainer. They paired me with big guy. Could probably lift a fridge. But he had this calm, steady energy. Like nothing surprised him. "You don't need to be a hero," he said. "Just start with what you can do. Discipline over ego." That line stuck with me. And the photography class? It was better than I hoped. 8 people, all ages, meeting in this converted warehouse with tall windows and natural light. The instructor, Lyle, looked like someone who narrated documentaries about wolves. He didn't sugarcoat anything, but he gave feedback that actually made sense. After our second session, he looked at one of my prints, a shot I took of Eliza laughing with her head tilted back, blurry lights behind her, and said, "You've got a good eye," and he meant it. That hit deeper than I expected, because when someone sees you without asking what you can do for them, that's rare. I started showing up early to class, staying late, volunteering to help set up, not to impress anyone, just because it felt good to be somewhere. I didn't feel like a placeholder. One weekend, Eliza and I went out shooting around the city, just messing around with different angles and lighting. At a cafe, I snapped a photo of a busker mid-songs closed, completely lost in it. That night, I uploaded it along with a few others to a portfolio site Eliza helped me set up. I didn't think anything of it until 3 days later. I got an email from a small local magazine. They wanted to license the photo for a feature called Faces of the City. No favors, no family strings, just payment for something I created. That moment changed something in me, not because it was a big break, but because it reminded me that maybe I wasn't broke and maybe I was just overdue. After the magazine feature dropped, my inbox started getting interesting. A couple of local businesses reached out, small stuff, headshots, team photos. I took every gig, not because I needed the money, though it helped, but because it felt like momentum, like I'd been standing still so long. I forgot what forward even felt like. Meanwhile, my Instagram quietly grew. A few followers here, a few there, nothing viral, just steady, honest. Then, one afternoon, while I was editing photos at the kitchen table, phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Saw your photos. Really proud of you. Isn't enough, right? An hour later, another ping. Hannah's thinking of doing a shoot for her fashion blog. Maybe you two could collaborate? There it was. Not even 2 full months since she smirked at Eliza and called her the +1 like she was a cocktail garnish. And now she wanted to collaborate. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I forwarded the message to Eliza. What do you think? She wrote back almost instantly. You already know, and she was right. I did. A week passed. 2 more small clients came through. One of them, a real estate agent, ended up referring me to his entire office. By the end of the month, I had 6 shoots booked and was making almost as much from photography as I was at my actual job. It was still side hustle territory, but the feeling was different now. This wasn't just a thing I was good at. This was leverage. Because now, when people looked up photographer in the area, my name came up first. That's when the messages really started. More from my mom. Uncle Darren's turning 60 next month. Family dinner. You and Eliza are invited. Then, it would mean a lot to everyone if you came. And finally, the dagger. Please don't shut us out. That one hit harder than the rest. Because it wasn't just an invitation. It was a rewrite. A subtle request to pretend like the last year didn't happen. Like the head table never existed. Like they hadn't let me sit alone near a bar and then tag the bartender in a photo before they tagged me. Eliza and I talked about it. Not just once. I didn't want to drag her through another round of their weird social Hunger Games, but she said something that stuck with me. You don't have to burn the bridge, but you don't have to walk across it either. So I didn't. I sent a short message back. Thanks, but we've got other plans. Wishing Uncle Darren a happy birthday. No drama, no bitterness, just boundaries. And you know what? The world didn't end. After that, something clicked. Maybe it was the peace that came from not explaining myself. Or maybe it was the realization that I could say no without needing a 12-paragraph justification. Either way, I started building a rhythm. Photography gigs most weekends. Gym twice a week. Date nights with Eliza, who somehow managed to be both my partner and my anchor. And then, quietly, I added something new. Journaling. Not the deep, emotional kind where you spill your soul in cursive. Just a quick end-of-day habit, what I noticed, what I liked, what I wanted more of. Somewhere in those notes, a pattern emerged. I wasn't rebuilding myself. I was rediscovering the version of me that wasn't constantly walking on eggshells. The version that didn't shrink in photos or apologize for taking up space. The version that didn't need Hannah or my mom or Aunt May to say, "We're proud of you," to believe it. And still, the messages kept coming. Riley just got engaged. We're planning a big party. You and Eliza should come. Hannah's launching her website soon. Would be fun for you two to collaborate. Every text was another thin rope tossed out like a lifeline. But I wasn't drowning anymore. Then came the email. From a regional creative agency. They'd seen blurred lines of photo series I'd quietly started compiling from my shoots. Portraits, mostly. Real people. Real expressions. A project about identity and the gap between how we see ourselves and how we're seen. They wanted me to lead the photography for their new tourism campaign. Full feature. Portraits, street shots, landscapes. The works. It paid more than any job I'd done. More than a month at my day job. I said yes, signed the contract, and then I hired my first assistant, Eliza. She'd left her job 2 months earlier, burned out by bosses who treated her ideas like white noise. We joked about teaming up. Now, it was real. We mapped routes, scheduled shoots, built something together, and then, because irony loves perfect timing, Hannah messaged me, "Hey, Brandon and I are launching a boutique brand and want to do a campaign. We're ready to move forward professionally. What's your availability?" No mention of the past. No apology. Just business, like none of it had happened. I stared at the message, then clicked over to my site, created a new page. Red flag clients, a list of polite red flags. Pays in exposure. Dismisses past behavior as just family stuff. Only reaches out after you've Suchietti screenshotted it. Sent it to her with one line. "Thanks for thinking of me. I'm fully booked this year." She didn't reply, and for once, I didn't care. I thought that would be the end of it. Thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally get the hint. But I underestimated their ability to ignore the obvious when it didn't fit the narrative they liked. A few days later, my mom called. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail that started with, "I just don't understand what's going on," and ended with, "I don't recognize you anymore." And the wildest part, she meant that as an insult, but to me, it felt like the highest compliment, because she was right. I had changed. I'd stopped apologizing for being different. Stopped pretending. I didn't notice the way they all treated me. I wasn't the quiet cousin standing by the bar anymore. I was the photographer whose inbox was full, whose weekends were booked, whose name came up first when people asked, "Do you know anyone good?" And the more they reached out, the more it became clear they hadn't changed. They just realized they couldn't use me for free anymore. Then came the moment that solidified it all. I decided to hold a gallery show. Nothing massive, just a curated exhibition at a local co-op. A mix of portraits from my Blurred Lines project, city shots, and candids with stories behind them. I worked every night for weeks, framing prints, writing captions, editing until my eyes went numb. Eliza helped with layouts, lighting, even the snacks table. Opening night came, and the place was packed. Artists, clients, neighbors, people I didn't know but who followed my work online. And as I stood there, mid-conversation with a local journalist doing a small piece on the show, I saw them, Hannah, Aunt May, my mom, hovering near the back wall, looking out of place for the first time in their lives. They didn't walk in like royalty. They didn't command the room. They were just guests, and I was the one holding the mic. After the short talk, they came over. My mom hugged me too long, told me she was so proud, and asked if I remembered when I used to take photos of Lego sets on her kitchen table. Aunt May smiled tight, said I'd really blossomed. Hannah lingered by one of the centerpiece prints, a candid of Eliza, sitting at the bar, plate untouched, blurry lights behind her, quiet dignity in her eyes. The caption below read, "We're not part of that group." They are. She stared at it for a long time, then turned to me. "Is this from my birthday dinner?" I nodded. I was testing composition that night. Caught it by accident. She laughed softly, like she didn't know if she should feel flattered or insulted. "Well," she said, "you've definitely got talent. Maybe we can still work together sometime." I smiled. Maybe. We both knew we wouldn't. The gallery stayed open for 3 weeks. Every night, new people came. Some stayed silent in front of the portraits. Some cried. Some left handwritten notes on the guest table. One woman mid-40s, probably a stranger, pulled me aside and said, "Thank you. You put into photos what I've never been able to say out loud." I wasn't just a guy with a camera. I was telling stories, including my own. The write-up in the local arts journal came a week later. The man behind the blur, finding clarity through the lens. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest. It talked about identity, about how sometimes the people who know us longest are the last to truly see us. And no names were mentioned. But anyone in my family who read it, they knew exactly who it was about. And that's when the real fallout started. First came a text from Aunt May. "We all make mistakes, Peter, but airing private family stuff in public? That's not okay." I didn't respond. Then Hannah posted a picture on Instagram. Her and Riley at brunch. Caption, "Some people need to tear others down to feel seen. But those of us who know who we are just keep rising." Hashtag unbothered hashtag family is forever hashtag let them talk. He didn't like it. Didn't comment. I just waited. Because I knew what they were really saying. We don't like that you took back the narrative. And that's when I realized silence wasn't just power. It was protection. My work was speaking louder than I ever could. 3 weeks later, my phone buzzed again, this time with an email from a regional creative agency. They'd seen the blurred lines gallery feature and wanted me to lead the photography for their citywide tourism campaign. A full creative shoot. Portraits, landscapes, behind-the-scenes stories of local artists, business owners, street performers. It paid more than any job I'd ever landed. I signed the contract the next day. That night, Eliza and I sat on the balcony with cheap wine and takeout noodles, watching the city lights blink like a quiet applause. You built this, she said, nudging my knee with hers. No, I said. We did. Because I knew without her, I'd probably still be hovering near the family table, grateful just to be invited. She was the first person who made me feel like I didn't need to earn my place by shrinking. 2 days later, I got a DM from Hannah. Hey, Brandon and I are launching a boutique brand and need a campaign shoot. We're ready to move forward. Let me know your availability. I stared at it for a long time. No. How are you? No mention of the gallery. No apology, just business. Like she hadn't once smirked at my girlfriend, or called me sad behind my back, or cut me out of her idea of real family. I typed out a few drafts, deleted them all, then went to my website and updated my FAQ, added a new section. Red flag: clients requests exposure instead of payment, treats past behavior as just family stuff, reaches out only when they need. So Mathinji screenshotted it and sent it to her with a single line. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm fully booked this year. No emoji. No punctuation beyond the period. She didn't reply. 2 weeks later, my uncle reached out about hiring me for his company's end-of-year event. I quoted my standard rate. He said, "Oh, I thought we'd get the family price." I told him, "You did." That was it. He hired someone else. I saw the photos later. They were fine. Not great. Not mine. One Sunday, Eliza and I hosted a small dinner in our backyard, just a few close friends, a couple photography clients who'd become friends, neighbors. String lights overhead, music low, laughter real. I stood on the porch with a drink, watching people pass plates and stories like family should. Eliza joined me, sliding her hand into mine. "They're watching," she said quietly, nodding to her phone on the patio table. "Hannah viewed your story twice. So did your ma." I sipped my drink, smiled. Let them. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't saying anything, it's living in a way that proves you never needed their approval to begin with. I wasn't the plus one anymore. I was the one holding the camera, the one telling the story. And this time, I wasn't writing myself out of the frame. I was the frame.